What's up guys, welcome to another tutorial. In this video we are going to be creating this dark theme portfolio, personal portfolio from scratch. So this is what we're going to be creating in this video. We're going to create the menu which include the logo, call to action button at the right and the list item, and we have the image at the right and text at the left with a call to action button as well. After that, we have this portfolio, which include theory, past projects. So after that, we have this about me section. So we have the text, the description about the owner of this website, which is a freelancer. So at the left, we have this button which downloads the CV. This button actually works, and see when I click on it, it downloads the CV file in a document file. So let me just remove that. So I'm going to explain how to create a button like this when we get to this section. So after that, we have the specialized skills section in which we have the React, JavaScript, WordPress. And after that, we have the contact me section with the icons right here, and we have the form at the left right here with a submit button. After that, we have this copyright description right there. So you see we have this contact me test, and also you can see we have this specialized test at the background. So we are going to be including those in this website. So you want to stay to the end of this tutorial to know how to create something like this, and this website is responsive. Let me just show that to you quickly. You see this website is responsive. So you're going to learn how to create a responsive website, personal portfolio like this for yourself, so you can just code along with me. So guys, let's just get into the tutorial and get started without wasting any more time. Okay guys, so as you can see, I have some files created already. I have the HTML, the CSS, and the JavaScript right here, which are currently empty. And I have the test file right here as well, in which you'll see all these in the description below. You can just download that and code along with me. The images also will be in the description below. So download that. You can pause this video, download that, and open your code editor and code along with me. So first, we're going to be starting with the HTML before we go to the CSS. So in the HTML, I want to create a boilerplate with Emmet in Visual Studio Code. So you just click the Shift key with exclamation and you hit enter, and Emmet provides us a boilerplate like this. We are going to change the title to John Ken, web developer. So in the body, we're going to write our HTML tags in the body, but first I want to link to the CSS, in which I'm going to use the link tag. Y-ref will be style sheet. The href will be css/style.css. I'm going to save that, and in the body I'm going to target a JavaScript file, which I'm going to use the script tag for that. And in the source, that will be JS. First we target the file, then we target a folder first, and then we target a file, which is main.js. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to grab the jQuery CDN. Okay, you just go to this website and you grab the minified version. I'm going to copy this and I'll paste it on the script tag. I'll save that and I'll close this web page. And after that, okay, so now let us first of all go to our CSS. In the CSS, we're going to write a global styling first. For the CSS, first I'm going to input the Google font because I'm going to be using Google fonts. So I'll just go to the font.google.com. So I'm going to search for the font we're going to be using. We're going to be using Hebrew. So this is the font right here. I'll click on that. And I'll grab the regular font Dread. And I'll click on the input. And I'll copy this text. Paste in our CSS. And I'll close this. And close this. And then I'll go underneath this. And I want to create the global styling first, but I want to target the old HTML element and give that border. To target the old HTML element, we're going to use the asterisk character, and I will open a curly braces, and in that I'm going to include border box. So first, we're going to be using WM, which is abbreviation in EMIS. If you are using VS Code, EMIS have some abbreviation you can use. So I'll just say border box sizing, box sizing. So that gives us a box sizing property. So for the old browser, I want this to be box sizing border box. As you see, so I'll go underneath the curly braces and I'll target a body. So body first, the font size, the font family, I want that to be Hebrew and sans serif. So underneath that, I want to remove the margin from the body, and I'll remove the padding as well. I'll make that 0. Oh, sorry for this. I'll make that 0. The weight, I want the weight to be 100%. The background. Okay, for the background color, let's create our colors first, because I'm going to be using the CSS variables for the colors. So first I'm going to use create a root for that. And if you want to create a CSS variable are colors in which you create, and you can use the colors anywhere in your CSS. So now we're going to create the variables for this. So first, I'll create the orange. And the color for this will be F06009. So now we have a variable created. Now we can use this orange anywhere in the CSS. So I'm going to give an example for that. Like maybe I want to give this background color, this color right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the var variable. I'm going to use the variable, as you see, the var function. So in the var function, I'm going to give this name. You're going to use this name in the var function, which is orange. Save that. Let's just open our web browser with you see, now we've given the web page an orange color using the variable function, and the value now is this orange color we give. Right here, we created a variable and we assign this color to it, in which we can use repeatedly in our CSS. I hope you understand what I'm trying to explain right here. So now I want to create a white color, but I'm going to use the FFL for that, and I'm going to create the variable for the light gray. For these, I'm going to use the C, and after that I want to create a gray itself. For these, I'm going to use 5C, 5C, 5C. And after that, I'm going to create a variable for dark gray. Kind of bad in naming things. Sorry, guys. So for this, I'm going to use the 1A, 1A, 1A. So after that, I'm going to create the darker gray. I told you I'm really bad in creating names. So now I'm going to use the color. The color for this would be 111. So after that, I'm going to create a background color, which I'm going to use the BG for that. For this, I'm going to use 0F, 0F, 0F. So now I'm going to create a color for our icon. So that will be icon. And I'm going to copy this filter color, and I'm going to paste that here. So you can just pause the video to quickly write this. We have the invert, separ, the saturate, we have the rotate, the brightness, and we have the contrast. So you can just pause the video for you to write this in your code. So after that, I'll go below this, and I want to change this freaking orange color to a black color. So we're going to use the BG, and I'm going to save that. Now we have the dark color. So I'll just go under this, and I want to start H1. So for the H1, I want the font size to be 2.2 EM, and the font weight, I want that to be 700. And the color, I want the color to be, so we are going to use the var function, and I'll include a white color for that. So I'll just go underneath this, and I'll start the H2. The H2, I want the font size to be 1.3 EM, and the font weight, I want that to be 600. The color for these will be the dark gray color. No, dark gray. I'll save that. So we want to start a P. The font size. So I want the font size to be 16 pixels. The color will be the coming. Let's write the var function first. The light gray. So I just go underneath the P, and I will start the A tag. For the A tag, first I want to remove the line underneath, so we use text decoration for that, and I will say none. So then I will use the color property, and I will value, I'm going to use the variable function for this as well. So I want to use the white color. I'll just save that. So now I want to style the button. So I'll use the btn class. We're still going to include that in our HTML, and I'll use the button as well, the button tag. So that I want to change the background. I'm going to use the var function, and the background I want that to be the dark gray. Not the darker gray, I want this to be the dark gray. And I want to change the font size to 15 pixels. Padding, I want that to be 11 pixels, and we include 30 pixels. This is the top and bottom, and this is the left and right. So for the border, we say 1 pixels for the line weight, for the border weight. I want this to be solid, and we're going to use the var. So you can also use the var function in the border as well. So you can use this anywhere in your CSS. So that is the benefit, and the benefit of using a CSS variable. So now I'm going to include, for the border, I want that to be the light gray. So I say light gray. So I'm going to include a box sizing, which this will be border box, and color as well. The color for this, I'm going to use the var function, and the color for this will be the white. And I want to change the cursor to pointer. So I'll just go underneath the button, and I'll style the. So now I'm going to style the HR tag. So first, if you use an HR tag in your website, in your HTML, first you want to remove the border totally first. So we're going to say border none. You want to remove the border totally first. Now you now include your own border. That is if you want to style your HR. So I'll say border top 1 pixels solid, and the color I want that to be the dark gray, and padding 0, margin I want that to be 0 as well. So I'll just go underneath these, and I'm going to style the container. So container, I do use container to wrap up each section. So I'll just say the weight, I want the weight to be 90%. And this is what most people do. They just give the 90% to the weight and leave it like that. And what you see that if I increase this web page, it stays like this. It doesn't increase with the web page. So what we're going to do to make that happen is that we're going to give it a max weight. That is maximum weight. So we want it to stay at this certain weight no matter the size of the web page. So I'll just say 1100 pixels. And I want to remove the margin, and I want the margin top and bottom 0, but the margin left and right, I want that to be auto. So now it shifts everything to the middle. So position, I want to include position relative. We're going to be using that later on in the styling. So I'll just go underneath this, and I want to style the section container. Section with a class of container, and I want to include the padding. Sorry for that, padding top, I want that to be 200 pixels. left, the right will be 0 pixels, the bottom will be 50 pixels, while the left will be 0 pixels as well. So what it does, every section container, it gives it 200 pixels at the top and 50 pixels at the bottom, 200 pixels at the top, 50 pixels at the bottom, 200 at the top for each sections for each section. So that I'm going to go underneath these and I'm going to start our grade because we're going to use a grade class. So I'll say display. So these, I'm going to display this grade. And I want to justify our grade, justify content, space between. We're going to use the space between and align properties. So align items, I want that to be center. So I want it to stay at the center like this. Every element will stay at the center, but I want to include space between them, not around them. You know, we have a value in which we can just say space around, and we can say space evenly, but we're going to use space between because these, I want them to share equal space between them, between each element. So now let us go back to our HTML and start creating our portfolio. Yeah, let's create our portfolio. So first I'm going to start with the header tag. In the header tag, I'm going to nest a child element, which will be the menu. So in the menu tag, I'm going to nest a container class, a div with a container class. In that, I'm going to nest another child element, which is a grade class. So in that, I'm going to use a div. I will nest a child div right there. So I'll give this. In this, I'm going to use the link, which is the A tag. I'll use the hash character right there, and I'll give this a class of logo. In the link, I want to include an image in which we're going to target the path to the logo image. Say images / we want to target the logo.png. So for the alternative here, I'm going to use the logo test. I'll save that. And let's see what we have. We have the logo right here. Beautiful, right? So underneath these, I'm going to create a sibling. We're going to use the nav tag. So in that, I want to, first for the nav, I'm going to give it a class of menu and mobile. So in the nav, I will nest the UL tag and the li. I will nest the li tag as well for the sibling. First, I will nest it as a child element, and I will include the A tag in that with the hash character. In the A tag, I want to use the word, the test, work. So now I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it twice. Save that. And I'm going to change this to about. And I'll change this to contact. Save that and see what we have. So we have the about, the contact right here. So I'll just go underneath the nav tag and I'll create another sibling. This time it will be a div. Say div, and in that div I want to have a tag this, I'm going to include the hash character, the class of btn. So in the A tag, I want to use the test IUME. I'll save that. So in the middle of these walk and about our contact, I want to include a bullet point, something like this, rounded corner point. So I'll just go in the middle of these, I'll say li, and I'll use a span tag. I'm going to copy this and I'll paste it in this. So we're going to start out with the CSS to include the points, the ones you see right here. So now let's go underneath here. And underneath the div, I want to include another sibling with the A tag. And this time I want to remove the A12 because that won't be linking to anywhere. So I'll just use the class of menu, icon, and the class of mobile. I'll save that. Okay, in the A tag, I want to use the HTML entity, which is and I'll use the hash character 9778. Save that. So now we have this HTML entity right there. Going to start out, that is what we're going to be using for the hamburger on the mobile side of the website. So for that, you guys will notice I'm using sibling. You notice I'm using the time, child, and sibling elements. So a child element is an element that is inside another element in HTML, while a sibling element is an element near each other on the same level. Like these are sibling elements because they are near each other on the same level. But the li is a child element to the UL, while the UL is a parent element to the li. So the UL now is a child element to the nav tag, while the nav tag is a parent element to the UL. I think you guys understand that. That is just a basic explanation for that. So I'll just go underneath this, and I want to create the showcase area as well. So I'll use the div with the ID of showcase. Use the ID of showcase with a class of container. So in that, I'm going to nest another div in that with a class of grade. So I'll just say grade. So you guys, I don't know, maybe some people do mistake an ID with a class. ID attributes specify a unique ID for an HTML element. The value of an ID attribute must be unique within the HTML document. You guys should know that. So the difference between ID and class is that a class name can be used by multiple HTML elements. It can be used a class, but an ID can only be used by one HTML element within the page. So you can only use ID once, but the class you can use that repeatedly. You see, I used the container class right here, and I also use the container class right here. But after using this showcase, I want to use the showcase ID anywhere else. An ID is just like an identity given to someone If I have my own identity, you can't use the identity I'm using. You have to have your own identity. So that is just a simple explanation for that. I hope you guys get that. So now I'm going to, in the class of grade, I'm going to nest another div with a class of left, in which I'm going to be using an abbreviation test for that, which is LT. So I'm going to create a child element, a sibling element for that, a div with a class of LT, which is right. So for the class of LT, I'm going to include the H1 and H1, a P tag, and a head tag. So in this, I'll just copy the text right here. My name is John, and I'm a web developer, something. So I'll just save that, and I'll go underneath this. I'll copy this text for the P tag, paste it in the P tag, and for the A tag, I'll just say, we'll just write portfolio. So let's see, that is all for that. See, we have the text right there. So I'll just go to the right class, the RT. For that, I want to include the image tag. In the source, the path will be images/showcase.png, and I'll save that. And we have the image right here, kind of blurry because that is too big. So I'll just go back to the CSS. I'm gonna save this, and let's start styling the CSS, the header itself. So I'll just go underneath the grid right here. I'll comment this out. Say header. So first, I want to give a fixed height to the header tag. So I'll just say header, curly braces, and I'll say height. I want the height to be 700. So we set the height to 700 pixels, and I'm going to remove the padding. I'll make that 0. Oh, sorry for that, guys. I'll just say 0. So I'll go underneath this. I'll save that first. That might be kind of working, but not to the way we want. So I just go underneath this, and I'll set the menu, start the menu. I want to add some padding to the menu. I say padding, top and bottom. I want that to be 10 pixels, left and right 0. And margin, I want to remove the margin because menu comes with some margin. So you have to know that when you use the menu tag in your HTML, just know that it comes with some margin. So you want to remove that first. So I'm going to save that. And now I'll just go below this, and I'll style the grade for the menu. So you know we style our grade class right here, but it's not working yet until we give the grade column templates, the template columns, until we give it the value it requires. So here I'll just say menu, and I'll use the class of grade. So I want to use the attribute of grade column, grade template column. So for the columns, I want this to be in 3 columns. So like this, I want it to be in 3 columns. So I'm just going to use the auto for that. I'll say auto, auto, auto. So I'll just save that, and see we have them in columns, and we have to remove this. I want to remove this. So I'll use the class of menu. Oh, just saved the website right now. Sorry for that. I'll use the class of menu icon, and I want that to display none. display none. I'll save that, and now the menu icon is not there anymore. So now let's style the URL. But first, let's change the size of the image. Just say image. Wait, I'll say menu. This is the menu tag and target the image. And I want to change the weight to 150 pixels. Save that. Yeah, that's kind of small. So now I want to start the li UL. Let's say nav UL li, and I want to remove the bullet points. So I'll just say list style none display inline block. So they stay on one line. We say display inline block, so now it stays on one line. And I want to give that a bit of a margin, bit of space within the text. So I'll just say margin 0, left to right. I want that to be 12 pixels. Saved until we have a little bit of space. And now we are done with a menu that quick, but I want to include the bullet points right here, the ones the finished website have right here. So I'll just go underneath the li, and we give that a class of span, the tag of span right here. You see, we have 2 of them with the tag of span. So nav li span. So I'll use the after pseudo class, after pseudo character. So I'll just say content. So we're going to use the content attribute. So this I'm going to use one of the CSS entity, which is /2022, and I'm going to save that. You see, we have that right here. You might not be seeing that, but don't worry, let's just style that so you can see it. So there are basically different ways of getting these points right here, but I think this is the best and the easiest way to do this. So I'll just say font size. I'll change the font size to 250 pixels, and the color, I want it to be, we're going to be using the var function first, and I want that to be gray, the gray color, and I want this to display vertical align and to the middle. So you see, now you can see them. So they are vertically aligned to the middle, and the color is gray. So after that, I'll just go underneath this and let's start the showcase area. So I'll just say showcase. Sorry for the way I type. Padding top. The padding top, I want that to be 50 pixels. Save that. There's a lot of padding right there. So I'll just go underneath this. There's a lot of space right there. I'll just say showcase. So now let's start the grade for the showcase area. So we want the grade column template. I'll just copy this and we'll paste it right here. I'll remove one auto because I want that to be 2 columns, which will be auto. So I'll save that. And now we have them right there looking really ugly. I'm going to style that, but I want to give this a bit of space using the grade space. So I just say grade gap. And I want that to be 20 pixels. Go underneath this. And I want to style the left first. So I'll just say showcase dot left LT. So I'll change the weight. I'll change the weight to 500 pixels. I'll save that. Now we have enough pixels right there. So let's style the image as well. So we can have a little bit of space right there. So I'll just say showcase dot right for the right class image img, and I'll start change the weight first to 400 pixels and margin bottom. Let's give that -1, -10 pixels. Okay, let's remove this. That's so now we have that here, but kind of weird. I don't want to have it underneath that place. We have the header. Oh, there's a mistake in the HTML, so that's why the header is pushing this down. I'll just cut the header closing tag and I'll paste it under the showcase. Save that. So now we have that working perfectly. We want to add the menu and the showcase area into the header tag. So before we only wrap that with the menu tag, so that's why the menu is pushing the showcase area to the bottom. So that is it for the header and the showcase area. I think that is a little bit of work right there. So you're getting there. So now let's go for the project section. So I'll just go back to the HTML and I'll comment this out, say project, which can also be called a portfolio section. Now we're going to use the section tag with the ID of project. So I'll just say section, ID of project. In the section tag, I want to nest a div tag with a class of grade and container. Grade, container. In that, I'm going to nest a div with a class of big, bg, bg test. Okay, I'm just going to leave that empty. And I'm going to include an image sibling. After that will be img. In that, I want to, the source will be image. Sorry for that, images / iPhone png. I'll just save that. And okay, we have the iPhone right here. And I want to give this a class. I want to give the image a class of iPhone, a class of image1, a class of image1. And I'm going to copy this. Okay, I'm going to just duplicate that into 3. I'm going to change the image for this to mark. That's PNG. And the image for this, I'm going to change this to iMark. That's PNG image, image2. The class will be image3. And I'm going to save this. And now we have 3 images right here. So I'll just go underneath the div. Okay, that is it. That is all for the image. For the project section, I'll just go to the CSS and I'll go underneath this. So now first I'm going to create a comment of projects. The first thing we have to do, we have to start the project first. I want to give this, this image, the showcase image comes above this image, so I don't want that to happen. So first, I'm going to give the project section a background color, and I'm going to make it, we are going to make it position relative, so it can come above this image. So the project section will come above the showcase section. All right, guys, this should be a button. Don't know why that is not working. Sorry for the mistake right there. I'll just go. Okay, I'm going to give this a class of button, which is class of btn. Save that. Okay, that is working now. And I want to target that class. I'll just target this P, the P tag right there. Okay, say showcase. Showcase left P tag. And I want to give that a bit of margin. Let's see. I wanted to push this button to the bottom. Say margin bottom. I want that to be 30 pixels. Let's give that 30 pixels and see. Oh, showcase. You have to include a he right here. Save that. Okay. Let's make it 50. Anyways, can't do any harm. Okay, let's leave that like that. And now let's go back to the project. First thing, give the project a gradient. So I'll just say projects. And I want to give this a background. I want it to be linear gradient. So I'll just say coming. Linear gradient. And I want this to be to the bottom. The direction, I want that to be to the bottom. And I'll just use the var function right here. And I want the top color to be the dark gray. And then I want the bottom color to be the background color, which will be the BG color. Save that. And we have that right there. Might not be seeing that, but let's just give this position relative and save that. So now the image goes under the project section, because the project section now is position relative. So it comes above the image. So let's go underneath these and let's start the grade, the project grade. Projects, class of grade. And I want that to the grade gap. I want the grade gap to be 20 pixels. And now we're going to change the weight for the images. So we'll just say project img, and I want the weight to be 100%. Index, I want the index to be 10. So I'll just save that. Okay. So let's go underneath this. And first, we want to start the image one. Want to change the column. Want to change the column and the row for the image one. So we say project img, the class of img1, and first want that to start from the grade column. Wanted to start from 2. Okay, let's say 1/2, and the grade row, the value for that will be 1/3. And I'll save that. Image 1, project image 1. Let's see. We have the image 1 right here. img1. So I'll just copy this and I'll paste it underneath this, and I'll change it to img2, and this will be 2, 3. I'm still going to explain what I'm doing right here, but I want that to display first. So now this is here. So for the img3, I'm going to copy this. I'll change this to 3. And this will be 2/3, and this will be, I'm coming. This will be 2/3, 2/3. Just save that. And that is working, but there's a problem with the container. Did we wrap this up with a container? Okay, I misspelled the container. It should be AI, not IA. So I'll just save that. Okay, now this is wrapped up in the container. So what is mean is that this is a way of positioning things when you use the grade system. First, we say grade column. For the column of this, we want this to start from 1, which is here, and we want it to stop at 2, which is here. So now we're targeting this column all the way from here. I want this to be 3. 1, 2, 3. And for the row as well, will be 1, 2, 3. So now the column for this starts from 1 and stop at 3. But for the row for the image 1 starts from 1 and stop at 3. Do you understand that? For image 2, the column starts from 2. You can see it starts from 2 and stop at 3. So for the row starts from 1. The row starts from 1, which this is the row. The row starts from 1 and stop at 3. I stop at 2. You see, 1, 2. Why this one? The row for image 3 starts from 2 and stop at 3. And the column as well start from 2 and stop at 3. So that is what we did right here. So I just have to do that quick explanation. So just in the comment below, let me know if you understand what I explained there, so I can try to improve the way I explain things. I'm still learning to do that, guys. So now before, we use the before pseudo class for this, for the background test, which is the test right here. Let's go to the finish website for this test right here. You see, let's go to the HTML. See, I use the test div right here. I give the class of DG test. So for that background test, we have to use the before pseudo selector. So I say before. So now I'll say we use the content rather for this. So you see we have projects. So just say projects. Oh. Now save this. And this is it right here. Might not, oh, what? You might not be able to see that, but it's right here. I don't know why the images shouldn't be like this. Comment, guys, I have to give this. Okay, grade gap. Yes. Images, the weight is 100%. Coming. Now let's change this to 10, the index. So we have to position this absolute, the text. So that is why the image size is not the way we want now because of this, the text that we included right here. So we have to position that absolute. So we say position absolute. I want that from the top, want it to be 30 pixels, and from the right, want that to be 0. Font size, want that to be 10 EM, and the font weight, want that to be 900. So we give it a color, var, the function, and want this to be the dark gray. Save that, and now that is there perfectly where we need it. And because we're going to repeat this throughout the website, if you see the final website, see, we're going to repeat this throughout the website. So I just think we should copy this and take it to the global styling. Just paste this right here. So first, I'm going to remove the content, and I'm going to remove the position, the top and right, the font that we need, the font weight that we need as well, and the color we need that as well. So I'll just save that. Okay. Let's just come down below and top. We're going to remove this font size, font weight. Okay. I'll remove the color and position absolute. I'll remove that and I'll save. I see still working because we've included that to the global styling right here. So now let's go below and start. Let's go back to the HTML. I want to include a line right here, right in the middle of the showcase and the project. If I go back to the finished website, you see that right here. Maybe you guys can see there's this gray line right there. So I'm going to use the H out for that. So I'll just say div for the container class, and I'll include the HR tag. If you don't know anything about HR tags define the thematic. HR is used to define a thematic break in an HTML page, just like a shift of topic in when you're writing an article. So that is what we use HR for as well, just showing that, okay, there's a break between these sections, so you can use HR for that. I'm going to save that, and that should give us our HR. So that is it right there. Hope you guys can see that. We've styled that already in the global styling. So I'll just go underneath this and create the about section. Okay, after the project section, go underneath this, comment this out, about. So I'll just say section, the class of the ID of about. In that, I want to use the class of container. And in that, I want to use the class of BG test. Okay, that will be empty. Let's leave that the way it is. So now I want to nest the class of grade in the container class. So in the class of grade, we have the class of left, which is LT. And after that, we have the class of right as well, which is RT. So in the class of left, I want to include H2. So I'll just say H2. And I want to include a tag right here for the download button. So for the H2, I'll just copy the test here. Okay, the test isn't here. Oh, okay, guys, this is the test right here. Just copy that and I'll paste it here for you guys. Okay, save that and I'll paste it in the H3. Save that. And I'm going to include a break right here, which I'll use the BR tag for the break. So now I want to create the download button. The best way to do this is to include an attribute in the A tag. The attribute is the download attribute. We will use a link for the download button. There seems to be a lot of confusion when to use button and when to use a link, much like tabs versus spaces. But the best way to do this, I think the best way to put this in mind is that button do things while link go places. You should just know that. That is basically the difference. Button do things, link go places. So now we're going to use a link tag for this download button, but we have to include an attribute. And that attribute is download. Just want to include the download attribute for this. And now we are going to link to the file we want to download using the href. So I'll say doc. I have a doc file right here. And the name of the file is cv.doc. So I'll just save that. And I want to give the link a class of btn just to create a button. Save that. And in the A tag, I want to include download CV. Save that. Let's see. Oh. Sorry, I don't know what happened right there. Okay, now that is working. Oh, that is weird. Open it twice. So now we have the button right there. So we want to include an image in this button, just like the finished website right here. So for us to include the image, you have to go back inside the link, and I'll include the image tag. The source will be images / download download PNG. Just save that. Okay, we have that right there. So I'm going to style that later. So I'll just go to the right and I'll include a P tag. In the P tag, I'm going to copy this text and I'll paste it in that. And I'll create another P tag. In that, I'm going to copy the text right here and I'll paste it in that P tag and I'll save. Let's give that a space. Now we have the P tags right here, the two. This is the description of the developer. So I'll just go underneath these and I want to start the about section. So I'll just comment this out and say about. And first we want to start the grade, the about grade. I hope we gave that a class of about the grade. Okay, this is the class of grade right here. So let's start the grade first. Target the about ID, about, and class of grade. And want to give it a gap. So you say grade gap 20 pixels, and the grid template column. So say grid template columns, and I want this to be auto, so that will be in 2 columns. So we have the right there. So I want the first tag, which is the about, the first class, which is the say about LT, which is the left. We are going to give that a weight of 200 pixels. Save. Okay, that is broken up into pieces. Don't worry, we're going to do that. We're going to start that later. So let's just, the right as well, I want to give that a weight as well. So I'll just say right, RT. I'll give that a weight of 650. Okay, now there's a bit of distance. I want to start at H2. You see, the color is kind of dark, but the H2 color should be white. Why is it dark? Come in. Let's go back to the top. Go back to the H2. Don't want the H2 to be dark gray. Come in. I want this to be white. White. Now save that. Okay, H2. Let's see. H2. What's happening? I want this to be white. Save. Okay, now it's working. Don't know what's wrong right there. So I'll just go back below, and now I want to give the H2 a margin button. I want to give a space between the button and the H2. So I'll say about LI, LT, sorry, the left. So say margin left H2, margin top 0, right 0, the bottom I want that to be 40 pixels, and the left I want that to be 0 as well. Okay, that works. So let us style the image in the button. So I say about, so we say about, we target the LT, image, IMG, tag. So the weight, want to change the weight to, let's say 30 pixels, vertical, align, middle, save that. Okay, I want this to push this to the side a bit, so I'll just give that a margin left, margin right, sorry, margin right. I want that to be 5 pixels. That should do it. 5 pixels. Okay, yeah, that's looking good. Okay, for the finished website, it seems like the H2 right here is a bit bigger than this, so we're going to start that. So let's just start the H2. I'll go back. I'll say H2. I want the font weight, the font size to be 1.2, 1.6. Why I want the weight to be 700. And I want the font line height. Let's start the line height. We're going to use the line height, the value will be 35 pixels. Just save that and see. Okay, now it's looking good. We'll just copy these and use that to style the H3 because we're going to use an H3 tag. Just say H3. I'll change this to 1.3. That should do it. And I'll change this to 600. And I'm going to remove this. For the H3, I want the color to be gray. So I'm going to use the variable of the dark gray. Okay. Okay, that is good. Let's go to the HTML and let us start with the. Okay, we have to include a test, the background test, this test right here, the about me. So I'll just go. Okay, this is the test. So I'll go back to the CSS. Now go underneath here. And first we have to target the about tag, the about ID, and the class of BG test before. I'll use the before pseudo class. So I'll say content. I want that to be about me. And I'll save that first. So we have it right here. So I want that to be top 30 pixels, left 0, and Z index. I want the Z index to be -1 and save. And we have that here, but that is not what we need. Oh, it seems I did not change that from, no, remove the ID from this. Oh, we have to remove the ID from this. So it's targeting the OBG test. So let's save it now. Now it's working. The about me is working. So let's go back. Let's go back to the HTML and I'll comment this out. For the specialized section, I'm going to comment this out. Specialized. And I'm going to create an ID with an ID of specialized. The class of container with the class of BG test. Okay, let's leave that empty. The class of grade. And in the class of grade, I'm going to create 3 siblings. First will be block. This will be the lead. So I'm going to create another div with a class of block. And I'm going to include the class of BDR, which is the border. I'm going to save this. And first, I want to include an image, img. The source will be images/react. And underneath that, I want to include an H3. And after that, I want to include a small tag. So for the H3, we just include React. And for the small tag, we have to copy the text right here. And we'll paste it into the small tag. Now save that. I'll just copy this and paste it here. And I'll copy this, the old div, and I'll paste it underneath. Want that to be 3. So we have to change the two images and the text. The image for this will be JavaScript, will be js.svg. The image for this will be WordPress, and then I want to change the text for this to JavaScript. Just change it to capital letter, cap. For the text, I'm going to copy the text here. Just copy this and paste it in this. I'll copy this and paste it in this right here. I'll change the text for this to WordPress. Save. And now we have those right there. Now the first thing we are going to do, we're going to start the CSS. I'll just go to CSS and I'll comment this out. Specialized. So first, we use the ID of specialized. Specialized grade. And for the grade, we want that to be grade gap. We want to include a gap. So we just say 20 pixels. And for the grade column system, the grade template column, grade template column, I want that to be repeat. In the repeat, I want to include auto fit. Just say auto fit, and that is one attribute. The second attribute would be main max. So this will include some values, which are going to include 250 pixels, and the second value will be auto. Save that. Okay. Now that is looking good. Okay, made a mistake here. I'm going to change this to section. The D for the specialized ID, I'm changing that to section, so there's a bit of space. Yes. I'll go back here and I want this to justify space between. Now, I want that to justify space evenly, so I'll just say justify content space evenly, so I'll just save that. All right, I want everything to be in the middle. So now, let's start a block. Specialized ID, the ID of specialized, and I'll say the class of block. After that, I want to change the weight of each block to 300 pixels. The background color will be white. So I'm going to use the var function and white, and text, want the text to align to the center, and padding, I want to include padding. The top and the bottom would be 50 pixels, the left and the right will be 20 pixels. I'm going to save that, and they are all of them are sharing the same background color for now. Don't worry, we're going to style the lead separately. So now I'll just say specialized lead. So you use the class of lead. I want to change the background of that, so I'd say BG color. I want that to be var, the orange. Save that, and let's see, now we have the orange. So I want the color to change. The color itself, I want that to be white. Save that. Let's see, now the color has changed to white. Let's start the H3. Specialized. Lead. H3. I want to change the color for that to white. So we say var white. Save that. And that is it right there. But we want to include a border to these blocks. We want to include a border to the block right here. So I'll just go back to the top. I want that to be a global styling. Go under this. So I'll just say BDR, the class, and I'll say border. I want this to be border top. No, sorry for that. Border left. I want this to be left. So I'll say 4 pixels. Solid. var orange. Save that. And now we have a little border right here. So that is it for the specialized, but I want to include the background text. Just go below this. I'll copy this, paste it here, and I'm going to change this to specialized. And the text as well. Seems the width of this is okay, it's the same thing. Okay, so the specialized, I want that to be at the bottom. Oh, it comes over this, so we have to include the Z index. We have to include -1 for the BG test. So I say Z index -1. So now instead of coming above, it goes below. Now it's underneath. So I want to position the specialized. I want this to be bottom, minus for the bottom, I want it to be -100. And for the right, I want that to be -120 pixels. Now save that. Okay, that's working. So now let's go for the contact section. Okay, I'm just going to comment this out and say contacts. So for the contact section, we'll wrap it up with a section tag and a div, an ID of contacts. And in that, we're going to create a class of container with a class of BG test. Okay, let's leave that empty. So underneath that, we're going to create a class of grade. In that, we'll have the class of left and the class of right. So I'll just say LT for left. And RT for right. So in the left class, we're going to create the left area of the contact form, which will include the H2 tag, the small tag, and here we're going to create a div with a class of icons. So in the H2, I'm going to copy the text right here. We have hire me for next project. I'll paste that right here. So I'll just copy for the small tag and I'll paste it in the small tag. And I'll go to the icons. So first, we're going to create a link tag. In that link tag, we're going to include a div. So in the div, we're going to include an image. I think this is the best way to create an icon without wrapping the text up. So I'll just say the A tag. So in the A tag, I will include a div. In the div, then we are going to include the image tag. So the source will be images / FB for Facebook. So I'll just save that. So this, I'm going to include the hash character. Let's save that and check. So we have the Facebook image right here, which is an SVG. So what we have to do next, we're going to copy this and we're going to paste it like 4 times. So we have 4 in a row. So we're going to change this. We change this to IN, which is for LinkedIn. We change this to IG, which is for Instagram. And we change this to TT, which is for Twitter. And I'm going to save that. And then we have the images right here. They are currently in dark color. So that is for the right side. So let's go underneath the right div and create the left side of it. So for the left side, we're going to include the BDR for the border class we have earlier. The border right here, the one we have for this specialized section. So I want to include that to the contact form as well. So now I'll go into the right section. We have an H2 first with a text of contact me. So underneath that, we have the form tag. Sorry for that. I'll just remove the action for now. We don't need that. Unless you want to send that. We're not sending it in this tutorial. So now I'll just first use the label tag. And underneath that, I'll use the input. This will be text. The name will be name. While the ID also will be name. And it will include a placeholder, which I'll just create that placeholder. I will use John Kane. Okay, let's save that. So first, I want to give the label a name. I'll just say, for the test will be full name. So now we have it right here, but we can't see that. That is not clear enough for you guys to see. But don't worry. Okay, now we want to target the input using the label. So in this for tag, we're going to include the name of the ID right here into the for tag, the for attribute, I'm sorry. We're going to include this name into this for attribute. So I'll just say name. So let me just explain the for attribute and the ID tag, also the label. The for attribute of label must be equal to the ID attribute of the related element so they can blend together. So the for attribute of the label must be equal to the attribute of the ID in the input or any other form tag. So this will make them to blend together, in which they'll work in hand to hand. So when you click the label, it targets the attribute, the input right here. When you click the label, it targets the input. I can't do that right now, but when we start the contact form, I'm going to explain that further. So I'm going to copy this. So let's copy this and let's paste it twice, because we want to create the email and the phone number. So I'll change this to email, and the for attributes, don't forget that we change that to email as well. So we want to change the name to email, the ID to email, and I'm going to change the type attribute. The value will be email as well. So this, I'll change the John Kane test to the placeholder will be example at gmail.com. So for this, we'll change the type to phone. The name as well will be phone. The ID will change that to phone as well. Everything will just be phone. For the placeholder, I'll just include plus 324 012345678. Okay, that is okay. So now I'm going to change this, the text for the label, we're going to change that to phone. And the name as well, the for attribute, I'm going to change that to phone as well. So let's save that, see what we got so far. Okay, we have them in a straight line. Now we want to include, let's say label, and for that I want to include an imp and a text area tag, because for messages you don't use input. When we don't use input for messages, instead we use the text area tag. So I'll just create that text area. For the for right here, we say we're going to use message for the for area, and this as well for the label. I'll use comments. Now for the name, I'm going to include message for the name. So I'll just copy this, I'll paste it into the ID. And for the placeholder, I'm going to include a placeholder. I'll just take away this and replace that with placeholder. And for the placeholder will be message. Okay, let me just say comment in detail. Comment in details. So underneath, I want to include a button. So I'll include a button underneath that. So we just say button. For that, the text will be submit. And in the button tag, we're going to include a class of btn as usual. Btn. So, okay, we have our button right here. So that is there. Let's go for the styling and start styling the contact section. So I'll just go underneath this. First, we have to comment this out. So let's target the container first. I want that to be relative. Okay, wait. I want to check something. Container relative. Okay, we don't need to make that relative. Okay, let's target a contact ID. And then container class. Let's remove the padding from the bottom first. 0. So now let's make them display grade. So we're going to target a grade class. Say contact grade. And then we're going to give it a grade gap first. We say 20 pixels. And the grade template column for that, we want that to be auto. So it displays in 2 columns. So that is working fine. So we want it to align start, align item. We want that to be start instead of being in the center. So it stays at the top. It starts from the top instead of being in the center. So now let's target the big test. I want you to see the way we're going to rotate the big test before styling this. For the finished website, you see, we have the BG test right here, which is the background test. We have that at the side. So that's what I want to do first. We're going to rotate that. So I'll just say contact BG before. So now I want to say content, and the test, we're going to use contact me. So from first, want to rotate that. To rotate, we'll use transform. The transform property. So the value now will be rotate. And we're going to say minus 900, minus 90 degree. So we use the dig for that, minus 90 degrees. So I'll just save that. Now you see it is rotate minus 90 degrees. So on a straight row like this. So we want to change the size of this and put it at the corner here. So we just say first for the font size, I want that to be, let's say EM. And from the bottom, I want it to be 250 pixels. While from the right, from the right, we're going to say minus 300 pixels. And save. Okay, now That is working perfectly, and that stays where it should be. So now let's style the right element right here. Let's style these rights. So for the right, for the left, rather, sorry for that, guys. For the left, let's style the left. For the left, I'll say contact with a class of LT, which is left, and H2. First, I'm going to say margin. We want to remove the margin bottom, 0, and then we start a small tag as well. I'll say contact LT small, and we change the color. For the color, I want the color to be white. So you're going to use the var function, say white, save that, let's check. Okay, that is working. The color is white. Okay, we're going to include a break between these. So I'll just go back to the HTML, and I want this to be on 2 lines. You mean for your next project, for the final website, as you can see, we have this on 2 lines. So we're going to include a break here, the break tag, which is BR, and save that. So now that should do it. Okay, we have that on 2 lines. Okay, I'm going to include a break tag under the small tag here as well. So I'll just say BR, I'll save that. Now let's go back. Okay. Okay, let's go back to the CSS and continue styling. So I'll just say let's style the icon. So contact div, we can just call div like that. We include the class of icons, and then we call the div tag. So I want that to be, I want to include a border radius. First, let's include the background, e.g. So say var, for that we use the white. Yes, white. Just save that. Okay. Icons, div, let's see. Icons, I'll target a div. Let's include the A tag here. Okay. Now let's make that display inline block. Display inline block. And border, I want to include border radius. So for the border radius, we like that to be 50%. And padding, top and bottom, that will be 9 pixels. And left and right, that will be 11 pixels. Let's save that and see. Okay, we have our icons here. We are still going to change the weight of the icons. So normally you would say want to style the image directly and give it a background color. It's going to shrink the image and it won't look the way we want. So that is why I'm including the styling directly to the div, wrapping up the image. The styling is directed to this div wrapping up the image. We don't want to style the image directly because we're going to be using background color, and we're going to be changing the border radius. Most of the time, the border radius comes over the image and it won't look the way we want. So just note that you want to wrap it up with a div, with a div tag if you're creating an icon like this. So that I want to make the background size to be cover, bg size. So that will be cover. I want that to be cover. So margin from the right, let's include margin right. I want that to be 15 pixels. To the will be a little bit of space among them. Yeah. See, there's a space among them right there. So margin top, okay, let's not add margin top. We don't need margin top. For the margin top, let's include that to the icon class instead. So I'll just say contact with a class of icons, and we're going to include margin top to that. So we'll say 25 pixels. So there's a bit of weight between the icon and the small tag. So now let's style the image so the icon look good. So we just say icons, and img for the image tag. I want the weight to be 20 pixels. The height, want that to be 20 pixels as well. Want that to vertically align to the center. So I'll just say vertical align middle. We don't use center for vertical align. We use middle. The value will be middle. So let's save that, and now our icons are working. So now I want to change the over effect. Want to include an over effect. For that, we'll change the color when mouse over. So I'll just say icons div over image icons, the class of icons div focus img. So now I want to use the filter. If you remember, let's go to the global styling. We have this filter right here, a filter color. So this is a filter color. So I'll just go back, and I want to include that filter color right here. So for us to change the color of an image, we have to use filter. If you want to change the color of an SVG, you use filter instead. Instead of using color, let's use background color. You see that this doesn't work. And say var, let's use the icon. So let's save that. You see that now when I hover it is not changing, nothing is changing, because when you want to change an SVG color, which is an inline SVG color like this, which is an image styling like this, you want to use the filter attribute here instead of using background color or color of a thing. You just say filter, and you save that. You see that will work. You see it changed to white because that is what I want. I want the color to change to white. But now we want the background itself, which will be icon div. Want that to change to the orange. So I'll say over. And now we'll target the icon again. Icon, what's div, focus. So now I want to change the background color for this because we're targeting the div itself. So say var. I want this to be the orange. Save that. Now you see. Okay, that is not working. What's wrong? Orange. That should be working. Okay, not icon. It's icons. Sorry, guys. Just change this to icons. So let's save that. And now that should work. Not working again. What's wrong? Okay, let's include the A tag here. A tag. Let's include the A tag and see. Okay. Okay, guys, I think the problem is we have to include the character, the element right here when styling the div itself for that to work. So I'll just copy that, I'll paste it here, and I'll paste this here. I'll save that. That should work now. Okay, it's working. That is kind of weird, but it happens to me most time because we just have to use the same ID, class, tag that we use for styling the main element itself. So now let's style the right. Let's style the right, the form. Let's style the form itself. So I'll just go below this and I'll say contact and the class of out, which is right. So I want to change the weight for that to 80% and justify self and background color, that will be white. The background will be white. I'll say white. So the color itself will be gray. So we use the var function, say gray. So padding, we include a padding of 50 pixels. At 50 pixels. And margin to the bottom, want to include some margin from the bottom, that would be minus. We'll remove some margin from the bottom, minus 80 pixels. And now I want to include a border shadow. Let me save this and see what we have here. So I want to include a border shadow at the bottom of this. So for that, I'll say, I'll use the emit abbreviation, say WM box shadow. So for the insets, I want that to be 0 pixels. For the offsets, for the horizontal off, I want that to be 45 pixels. And for the vertical off, I want that to be 30 pixels. And for the blur, I want it to be 0 pixels. And for the color, I just use RGBA, and The red will be 50, 50. The blue will be 50, and the green will be 50 as well. So for the alpha, that will be 0.1. Okay, that should do it. Let's save that. You might not see that right now. And I want to remove this overflow. Let's go to the top. Now I want to say body. The body I want overflow. Y. I want that to be eating. Save. Okay, sorry, that will be X, not Y. Save. Okay, now that has been taken away. I don't want to see that border. So now let's go below this. We're going to start the H1 first. I want to change the color. You can't see that, but that is right here. So let's go below this and say contact H2. H2, sorry, it's H2. So I want to change but this should be white. RT. And I want to change the color. I want to align the text to the center. So let's change the color first. Var. Dark gray. And for the text, we want that to be aligned. Text align to the center. And margin, want to give it a bit of margin from the bottom. So you say 50 pixels. Save that. And now you can see that. That is visible now. So now let's start the input. So we start everything together, both the input and the text area. So I say contact dot write input. So say the ID of contact as well. Dot write text area. So now use the curly braces and the weight, we change that to 100%. Border. The border will be none. I want that to be none. I want to remove the old border from. But we include our own border. So first we want the border to be none. So now let's include a border at the bottom. So we say border bottom. We want it to be 1 pixels solid, and var. Want that to be light gray. Just save that, and now that is it. So now let's give that a bit of padding. So we say padding 10 pixels top and bottom, left and right. Want that to be 0. Okay, I'm still going to remove the outline. So when we click, there's this line showing that is not a border, but it's an outline. So we're going to remove that as well. So I'll just say outline. We want that to be none. And let's save and see. You see, the line is not visible anymore when we click. So now I want to give it a bit of margin at the bottom. So there's a space between each input. Margin bottom, I want that to be 30 pixels. So let's add that. And for the color, the text, I want the color to be var. We're going to use the dark gray. The font weight, I want that to be 700. And for the font family, let's leave that, and you see what I'm trying to do here. You see, the font is kind of, I don't like the way it is. I don't know the the English to use for that, but I don't like the way it is. It's kind of ashy or something. So what we're going to do, we're going to inherit the font we're using for the website. So we just say font family, we just say inherit. So it inherits the font we're using right now. So now you see the font looks good. So now we want to style the text area itself because I want to change the weight and I want to include an height for this. And this resize, we're going to remove this resize itself. It's way worse because I don't like that. I don't know why they include that to the HTML, but let's just say contact, the right class, RT, and the test area. So we just say, we'd say the weight, want the weight to be 100% like the input, want the height to be 100 pixels, and resize, want that to be none, and let's save. Okay, let's reload that. Okay, now it's fine. We don't have that resized line anymore, and the height is 100%. So now this is looking good so far, but I want to start the placeholder. I want to change the color. I want it to be a light gray color. So for that, I'll just go below this. And we're going to use the placeholder pseudo element. So I'll just say placeholder color. I want that to be var, the dark gray. And for the font size, font weight, want that to be a bit bold. Let's say 700. Save that. And now that is looking good. Yeah. Okay. So now let's go straight to the footer. So I'll just comment this out for the footer. So just say footer. That is a really simple line. The background color, I want that to be white. var white. For the padding, I want that to be top and bottom, 60, left and right, 0, and that is it for the footer. Okay, that should be working. Oh, we haven't, I'm sorry for that, guys. We haven't created a footer. I just go to the HTML and now we include the footer right here. I'm going to use the footer tag. And with the container class, and in that we're going to use the right class RT, and I'm going to use the small tag for the copyright test. So I'll just say copy (2021) all rights received, all right reserved. So save that. So want to include the copyright character before the copyright test itself. Okay. Just say we use the HTML entity and copy. So we'll save that. And now you see we have the copyright sign right there. So let's just close that up. And now for the label, the way the for targets the ID is that now when we click on this, you see it toggles the ID, the input right there. You see, when I click on it, it toggles, you see that line, the cursor, you see that? So that is how these work with the input, the ID itself. So whenever someone sends a message using this form right now, the full name will be targeting the name of this person right here. So that being said, let's just go back to the top and see what we didn't do. Okay, just go back and, oh, I want to include a line right here. So I want to include a line underneath the developer and the designer test. See the finished website here. You see we have this line underneath here. So I'll just go back to the HTML and go to the top. And here I want to include I'll just include a span tag. Say span. And I'll copy the developer test. And I'll paste it here. And I'll include a span tag here as well. Span. And I'll copy the designer test as well. And I'll include it here. Remove the footer right here. Okay, let's save that. Now nothing happens because we have to include a class in the span. The class for this will be lead. And the class for this will be lead as well. Just save that. So now we just go to the HTML, to the CSS rather. I'll go to the top and let's see if we styled that earlier. We didn't, so I'll just go underneath here. And yes, okay. So say showcase. And that will be LT for the left area. And we're going to target the H2. And then we'll target a span. And I want to give that border. Border bottom. And this will be 2 pixels solid. And I'll change the color to the var function, which will be var. And I want to use the orange color. Save that. Okay, now that should be working. Let's go back to the HTML. H1. Oh, it should be H1, not H2. H1, okay. Want that to wrap it up, so I will use the entity. So I'm going to use the space entity between these. So for the space entity, I'm just going to use and NB, XP, and this. So save that. So I'll paste that at the back as well, at the front. And for this, for the design, where's the design? Let me wrap this up. So for the design as well, we're going to paste HTML space entity right there. So if you want to include space in HTML, this is the HTML entity you have to use. So now that should wrap it up. I don't know. Okay, this is John Kane. That's why that is not working. So we change this to John Kane. John Kane. John Kane. And now should wrap up a bit. Okay. Okay, since the weight of the finished website is different from this, so I'll just go back to the HTML here. And this, I'm going to change this to 450 for the left weight, 450, and we'll save that. Let's say 400. That should do. Okay, that is way worse than I want. Let's keep it 450. Anyways, okay, so guys, that is it for the website. So now let's go for the responsiveness of the website. So yeah, I'll say media query, save that, and now we'll make the website responsive on mobile and on tablet. I'll go on. So to make your website responsive, you have to use media query. So let's create our first media query for 1000. So say at media only screen, and so now we're going to give it a condition of mass weight. We say mass weight of 1000 pixels. So when this condition is met, we want everything in this media query to happen when the weight of our website is 1000 pixels. So first, we want to change the container. The weight of the container, I want to change that to 95%. So I'll save that, and I want to drag this to 1000. Let me just inspect that. Coming, guys. Okay, that is 1000. Now let us go back to our media query. As you see, the weight now is 99%. You can see that. So secondly, I want to change the pattern I gave to the section container higher. Wait a minute. Coming, guys. Can't find the project right here. Okay, let me change the color first. Let's give it another color. I want that to be white. Save. The test is not here anymore. Let's look at the HTML. Okay, it's here. So what is wrong? We have it right here in the projects. Top 30 and right 0 home. Alright guys, I don't know the test about me. There should be a test for the project right here. It seems the test has gone underneath the background. It seems the test has gone underneath the background because the background is positioned relative, and the background test, we use z index minus 1. Let's check. Right here, we use z index minus 1 for the background test. So it seems we have to use z index 1 for it to show. So let me just save that. Okay, that is working. That is crazy. All right, guys, let me just remove the color right here and change it back to the normal color. All right, let's go back to the media query. So let us change the weight for the sections container. So we'll just say section container, and I want to change the padding. The padding for that, I want that to be 120 from the top, 0 left, right, 50 from the bottom, and 0 left. I'll just save that. Okay. Let's go underneath this. Let's start a BG test. For the BG test, I want to change the font size to 6 EM. And the showcase left. I want to change the weight for that. Showcase left. Let me just drag this a little bit. Okay, this is 1000. We're not seeing that. Okay, now you see the changes. See, the pattern here has changed. See the test going underneath this. So let me just save this for you to see. We've changed the test weight, the size of the background test. So let's just change the showcase left, the weight. Just say showcase left. Weight, I want that to be 400 pixels. And for the showcase white image, showcase RT IMG. So I want to change the weight for that to 100%. Weight 100%. So let's save that and see. Okay. This is getting under this. Let me just, for the header. Okay, for the header, let's change the weight a bit. Header. Height, let's change the height. Height, let's say 700 pixels. Save. Okay. Let's change it to 800. Save. Okay, that looks better. Okay, let's go underneath this and okay, let's say that let's change the header to 100%. Save. All right. That looks more like it. Okay. All right, guys. Now let us tidy about. Want them to stack on each other. For the about, so I'll just say about grade and say grade gap. I want that to be 20%. And for the grade template columns, I want that to be auto. So now you see they stack on each other, as you can see. And for the about right and left, let's say about, I want to change the weight to 100% for the about right. We have right, so weight, I want that to be 100%. And let's include left as well, say about part left. So let's save. So we want that to be 100%, taking all the whole weight of the website. So now let us style for 800. Let me just paste this here and we change this to 800. Let me close the curly braces. So you close the curly braces, and now first thing I want to change the showcase grade. When it gets to 800, let's shrink this to 800. Okay, now we at 800. So I want these to come underneath this. I want it to stack underneath this. So I'll just say I want the image to stack underneath the text. So for that, we're going to target the showcase. And the grade, and I'll say grade template column, I want that to be auto. Just change that to auto, and now stacks on each other. Okay. Let's see the finished website. Let's change the weight of this to let's leave it like that. I want to change the weight of the image before, but let's say, okay, let's say weight. Let's say showcase. I want to change the weight of the image. Showcase. First, let us target the left test. I want that to be 100% for the test, so I just say left. The weight should be 100%. Let's save that, and okay, now the weight is 100%. Now let us start a showcase test. Showcase image, rather, let's start the image. I want to change the width to 500 pixels. So I'll just say showcase white image width 500 pixels, and mask weight. And the mask weight to be 100%, and margin top I want that to be 20 pixels. Let's save. Okay, that looks more like it. I want to go back to here to the showcase image right here. Let's say margin bottom. I want that to be minus 20 pixels. Okay, that is not working. Let's say -40. All right, I just leave it. Seems that isn't working. Anyways, let's go back to the. Now let us start the project. The project is kind of looking small. I want the images to stack on each other right now. So just say projects and grade. Then want the templates, the grade template column, want that to be auto. Now just save and let's see. Okay, seems that is not working. Let's go back to the projects, main CSS, and okay, we used this grade column and grade rows, so we can just change it with grade auto. Okay, let me just remove this and we'll style that when we get to 700. So now let us style the contact. I want the content right. I want the right to be 100%. So I want to make that 100% the right. So just say contact. I want the weight to be 100%. So save. Okay. Now let us copy this and go underneath here and paste. So we change this to 700. And then, okay. All right, guys, let's go back to the top. And first, I want to change the container weight to 90%. So let's change the container to 90%. So I'll save. 700, okay. Now, I want to change this section padding at the top. I want that to, so just say section. And the container, I want to change the padding to, let's say 100 pixels from the top and 0 from the right and 50 from the bottom and 0 from the left. Let's save that. Okay. Now let us start the menu. The menu is looking shrinking together. Let us style that for mobile version. So we just say menu and want the margin to be 0. So let's position that absolute, and I want the weight to be 100%. Z index, that let us make that 99. And background color, I want that to be var. I'm going to use the var function, and now I want to use orange. So let's save that. Okay, that's it. So let's just target a menu container. and I want the Z index. Want to include the Z index, that means we're going to include 999 and save that. Okay, now let's start the list item, the nav. Let's start the nav itself. So just say menu, the class of menu and the class of mobile. And then I want to position that absolute from the top. Want that to be 45 pixels. Right from the right, want that to be 0. Background, var. Want to use orange as well, so we just say var orange. And the height, let's change the height to 500 pixels. The weight, want it to be 100%. Z index, let's make that 50. And for the padding, top, want it to be 50 pixels. Transform, want it to translate Y, so it comes from the top. Translate, want this to be Y, so that will make it translate from the top, from the y-axis like this, from the top. So just say translate minus 600 pixels, and want to include a little bit of transition right there. So transition, want that to be all 4 seconds, and ease in and out. So just save that, and let me save that, and you see. So now let's go underneath here and want to start a menu icon. Want that to position to be displayed block. So I just say menu icon. You know, we make that display none in the main CSS. So now say display inline block. And for the font size, I want it to be 25 pixels, and cursor, let's make the cursor pointer and save. You see, now that is displays. Okay, I don't like the way this text is closer to the menu. Let's go back right here, and for the showcase left, I want to include margin top. I want that to be 30 pixels and save. Okay, it's made at 40. Save. Okay, that's a lot better. So now we can see the menu, but we're going to make the function work from the JavaScript. So first, let's just okay. Let me just okay. I want that to stay like that from the top. I want that to be okay. So let's start the menu, the list. So for the list, we just say nav UL. So let's start the UL first. I want the padding to be 0. Let's change the padding for that. 0. Now let us start the list item. So now UL, li, and then we'll display there a block because we want them to stack on each other. So just say display, and that will be block. And then want to include a margin from the top. So just say margin top. Want that to be 25 pixels. And text, want it to align to the center. And save. Now you see. So I want to change the size of the text. So we'll target the list, the link itself, UL, li, and the A tag, which is the link tag. So we say font size. I want to change the font size to 25 pixels and save. Okay, that looks better. And the list itself, I want to change the color of this. I want that to be white. So just say color white. Let's save. Okay, that is not working. Okay, let me just copy this and let's paste it here and remove this. So let us target the span because we use the span test right here. Span. Let's go back here and check. Okay, we use a span here. And want the color to be white. That is not changing. Let's go back to the top. Okay, it was after. I'll just copy this right here and go down below. Paste that here and remove this and change this to white. Save. Okay, that is working fine. So now let us start the transition for the menu, the transform for the menu. So I'll just say menu. So I want to give this a class of menu shown. Menu shown. And then we'll target the menu, the mobile. Let's say mobile menu. Sorry for that, guys. So I want this to transform. From the top, I want it to be 0. So just say transform translate Y. See, the other time we use transform translate. Where's that? Where's that? Okay, transform translate. We used minus 600 from the top, minus 600. So now I want it to be 0 from the bottom. So just say translate Y 0 and we save that. That is working. So that is it for the menu. So let me just uncomment this and you see now we go to the top. Okay, now let us start the grade for the project. Let us change the layout. So just say project grade. And first I want to make it grade template column. Say grade template column. I want that to be auto. We make that auto. Now we target the image, each of the image. So we say project image img1. So the first one that to be for the grade column, one have to be auto, and for the grade row, one have to be auto as well. Save that. Okay. Okay, this should be projects, not projects. Save that. Okay, now this is coming below. So let's just copy this and paste, comma, you use the comma character and paste. So now I want to change this to 2, and this will change to 3, and we save. Now they stack on each other. You see, the images start on each other. So now I don't like how big the images are on this size. So I just say projects. Let's change the weight of the project. Project.container. So you say the weight, I want the weight to be 100%, the way they are right now, but mass weight, I want the mass weight to be 500 pixels. So the image, see, now the image size is kind of good right now. So after that, let us start the container right here. See, the weight is kind of shrinking together. So let's go below and say contacts, target the contact, grade. So let's make that display auto. So say grade template column. So we want that to display auto and save. Okay, now they are on each auto. So I want to, for the right, I want to shift it to the top because it's staying under these copyright. So let's say contact, right, want the margin from the bottom, 20 pixels, save. Okay, now that's worked. So now I want to see, we can't see the text anymore for the contact. I want the text to come above this. So just say contact for the big BG test. So I want that top. From the top, I want it to be 200 pixels. And from the left, let's make that 0 and transform. Rotate to be 0 degree. So it stays on a straight line. See, that is it. From the top, let us make it 180. So we can see it, 170. Okay, that looks better. So now we can see it. Okay, now let's go for the last size, which I'll just open these and for the 500. All right. Okay. Now first, let's copy the media query, and let's paste the media query right here. Oh, what is that? Sorry guys, let me just copy that. Copy and paste. Okay, let's close the curly braces, and first we want to change this to 500 and save. So the menu, let's start the menu on 500. So I just say menu, logo, image. So for the logo image, I want to change the weight. Let's change the weight for that to 80 pixels. Let's say weight 80 pixels. And for the menu button, I want to change the weight of that as well, the pattern, BTN. So I just say pattern. From the top and bottom, 8 pixels, and left and right, 15 pixels. Now I want to remove the BG text, but I want that to display on mobile. So I just say display none for the BG text, and for the section container, I want to change the padding as well. Section container, I want the padding to be 50 pixels, top and bottom, and left and right 0. Let's save. Okay. Now the logo and everything has changed. All right. I want to change the pattern for this because the space right here is kind of too much on mobile. That is a lot of space. So just say contact, right, and want the pattern to be 30 pixels, and from top and bottom 30 pixels, and left to right 20 pixels, and that is it. Now seems we are done. Everything is looking great. Okay. For the download button is working fine, but it seems my data is not on for now. So, all right, guys. So that is it. Okay. For the doc. Oh, we don't have anything in the document. Let me just include that quickly. All right, guys, I've included a document file right here, so it can display. Okay, let's open it anyway. Oh, okay. Let's just remove that and let's download it and see if it will download. Okay, now it's downloading fine. So that is it. So now let us go for the main.js to use the jQuery for the menu and for the scroll effects. All right, first we want to create a function. So to create a function, we just use the $. And for this, I'm just going to say document. So I go outside, I say ready. So then we'll create a function, say function, and give this open a curly braces, and indeed in the function we're going to create another function for click. So I'll just first I want to call the class. I want to call the class of menu icon. So when the icon is clicked, let's create a function for that. When it's clicked, say function so when the menu is clicked, we have a function for that. Then we want to target the body. So say body, the body of the website, and then toggle, we use the toggle function. Toggle class. So I wanted to toggle this class menu shown. And we save that. And let's see. Okay, that is not working. Let's go back to the HTML and see. Okay, we'll look to our JS. What's the problem? I want to look at the class, the menu icon class. Yeah, menu icon. All right, guys, let's close the function first. Maybe that will work. Okay, that doesn't work. Let me check. Toggle class menu shown. We have the function and click. Okay, this should be it's a class in the HTML. We should use the dot menu for the class. Let's save that and that should work. Okay, that is working. All right, let's now start the transition. But first, let's go to the HTML, and for this will be projects. So that I want to target each class. So we're targeting each ID, not class, but we're targeting each ID. So this, let me save this and you see. So this will take us to the projects section. So now for this will be about section, and this will be the contact section, and I'll say that, and these will take us to the about, while these will take us to the contact. But I want these to be a smooth scrolling, not just jumping right there. So we'll just go to the JavaScript. For that, I want to use the $sign to create a function. So we'll just say document already. So we'll say function. And now in that function, I want to target a menu, the menu and the A tag, the class menu and the A tag. So I'll just say, use the $. I'll just target a menu, then A tag on. So we use the on click. So we say click. When it is click, we want to add a function to that. So say function, the function now will be event. So that is an event function. So we added an event function to that. So now I want to use the condition. The condition now will be if this is an hash equal or greater than so on the event, want to call the event, we say first want to prevent the normal scroll in which it jumps. So to prevent that, we just say event dot prevent the default. So we say default. So after preventing the default, now I want to create the new scroll effect. So say var hash equals this hash HTML body animate now I want to include the scroll effect in jQuery. So just say scroll top use the hash offset want that to be top. We are going to include top for that for the offset. And I want to add the timer. For the timer, I will say I want it to be 100 to be 1000 and want to include another function right here. For the timer, I want this to be 100 to be 1000, and for this function here, I want that to be window dot locate. I want that to locate the hash, not local, locate. So I want that to be hash equals hash. So let's save that and see the timer function is 1000. Okay, that should work. Okay, now you see, simple, right? So that is it for the tutorial, guys. I really appreciate those who watch to this extent. So thanks for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if this video is valuable to you and if you learned something from this tutorial, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video.